Welcome to Ole Walls House. It's me. It's your man. It's your main man. It's Ole Walls. I'm back with you for episode number 120, and we got a fun show coming your way. We're going to be focusing on the NFL draft. Everybody's favorite NFL draft expert, OWH NFL draft contributor, MJ will be here with us this week. So MJ will be diving in and kind of walking us through what he's looking at. We also talk a little Flyers, talk a little Guardians, talk some travel stuff, talk some movies, talk some music. I'm going to do the music segment that I forgot to do last week. So we got a fun show coming. Before we get there, let's do some housekeeping. If you guys could you please rate, review, comment, subscribe, share the show. Tell people Ole Walls House. It's the place to be. Let them know about it. Tell them they can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pods, lots of other places. So go out there, find Ole Walls House, listen to it. Also, if you're looking for 20% off Liquid IV, you know where to go. The link in the show notes below, or you go to liquidiv.com, use promo code OWH. You know the deal. I like it. I use it daily. I like the convenience of the little package. 16 ounces of water. Boom, bam, boom, ba, da. You're good to go. You got more electrolytes than your leading sports drinks. You got more hydration than water alone. And they're into equitable access to water and have donated over 39 million servings. So, again, non-vegan, non-GMO, vegan, non-GMO, dairy, all that stuff too if you're looking for that. So promo code OWH at liquidiv.com, O for Ole, W for Walls, H for House. Go get you some. All right, let's get to MJ and the NFL draft. Thus, OWH leading draft expert, MJ. MJ, how we doing, man?
What's up, brother? I'm doing all right, man. How are you doing?
I'm great, but doing the same fucking thing again.
Going through your computer?
Yup.
It doesn't sound as bad on my end now.
No, it's definitely way limited. Let me try this. Let me just do this.
Everything seems good on my end. It's just I can hear myself echo a little bit now, but...
Okay, I've got you coming through. Talk again?
Hello.
Okay, perfect. We're doing it live, people. We're doing it live.
Let's do it.
All right. So I've got you just coming through my headphones from the computer. So if anyone out there thinks I'm screaming at some point, it's because I don't have any concept of how loud I'm talking now. So we're working through some technical difficulties on the run here. So all right.
It's a thing that always has to happen when I'm doing this.
It does.
I don't get it whatsoever, but
oh well, we're making it. All right, man. Well, we're talking drafts. Your favorite time of the year. Lead it off. What are you thinking? What are you seeing? What crazy kind of drafts we're gonna get here? Some movement from some players kind of late has jumped a lot of people up and down. What do you want to say before we start? Going pick by pick.
Yeah, probably one of the most offensive-minded drafts in a long time. There's a chance that since the Super Bowl era, there's only been one draft, and that was 2021, where a defensive player wasn't picked in the top 7, and that could happen Thursday night. So a lot of offensive players. The quarterback class is obviously, I think, where much of the conversation is in the top 5. Offensive tackles, super deep. Wide receiver is super deep. And then, defense, they're calling it kind of a bad draft class, but there's a lot of really good players on the defensive side too. It's just the overwhelmingness of the offensive players has really kind of dominated this draft. And I think it'll push some really good players down in the teens, 20s and beyond. If you're looking for linebackers and safeties, this might not be your favorite draft if your team needs those.
The Packers are going to be real pissed that there's not just a plethora of those laying around.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, there's really good players. It's just, it's not as top heavy as it has been in years past too. So, but it's a very interesting draft, as they always are. So I'm super excited for Thursday. It's a good year.
Yeah. You said maybe not a defensive player in the top 7. I've seen mocks with no defensive players in the top 10.
That would be mind-blowing to me.
Mind-blowing, but I have seen a couple mocks that do that. I mean, the first one on this one mock that I have pulled up right now is They actually have the Falcons making a trade to get up to 11 and taking Dallas Turner, the edge from Alabama. But I won't.
Yep.
I'm not the mock maker here. That's you, my man. So
Yeah.
what are you seeing for us? I think round one is pretty, or pick one is pretty simple, right?
Yeah. And I kind of threw this idea to you the other day. I did throw some trades in.
Okay, love it.
And it was just one of those things where I'm like, I feel like this player is like destined to be there. I'm going to go up and like get him. I don't know. And I just kind of played around with it, tried to have a little bit of fun with it. But for the number one pick, I don't think it's any question that it's going to be Caleb Williams, the quarterback from USC. I think he's far and away probably everybody's best player in the draft, not even just best quarterback. So I don't think there's any question there with Caleb Williams. People have a lot of questions about him, with his fingernails and his crying to his mom, but a lot of people aren't going to really care about that stuff, and they're going to go get the best player.
Yeah, I think there's questions about his character in general and kind of some things he said, and I want ownership and
Yep.
and just kind of stuff he does. But like, I think the overwhelming agreement on his talent is going to out. Like, there's just I think every 30 of 32 teams in this league, there's probably 25 that would take him number one overall.
Yeah.
So yeah, that seems to be pretty easy. The next couple picks, I think, could be a pretty wild stretch of time as this is going on in the draft. We go next to the Commanders, I believe.
Yep.
In the 2 slot.
Yep. So I didn't put any trades in the first 5, but I will say before I go into Washington's pick, like these could all get a little hairy, but I do think Washington does stay there. Dan Quinn's the head coach now. They have a new general manager. Cliff Kingsbury's their new OC. And really the Cliff Kingsbury thing is why I think Washington goes with Jaden Daniels, quarterback, LSU. I just think it's that Kyler Murray type feel. I think he's comfortable coaching those types of quarterbacks. I think Drake May and Daniels are kind of 1B, 1C in a lot of people. So I think they go with Jaden Daniels and get their quarterback.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of that movement. And it just feels like it fits that the Commanders take Daniels because then that leaves Drake May for the Patriots, I'm guessing is what you're thinking.
Yeah. And I put in my notes here that I do think there could be a situation where maybe the Giants move up from 6.
I've been seeing a lot of that news like out in the world that like the Giants are looking to make a move.
Yeah. And I just don't think the Giants have the capital in this draft to move up to 3. And I think New England's they would ask for so much. It'd be hard to get there. So I have the New England Patriots drafting Drake May. The bad things on him, you see sometimes where he makes so many great throws and then he'll have just 1 or 2 head scratchers where it's like 7 yards way out of bounds or he is kind of a gunslinger. Like he'll throw it in there and he'll get picked off once in a while, but I've seen scouts, I've heard podcasts, I've heard things where some people think Drake May is the best quarterback in this draft class. And I like New England with all their random quarterbacks they were throwing in there, last year. I just think with the new head coach and everything, they're just going to go get their guy. And I think Drake May is going to fall to him in that spot.
Yeah, there was definitely a stretch of time where there was a lot of conversations around Drake May is the better quarterback than Caleb Williams. Like, I don't remember when it was exactly, sometime in the college football season last year, where it was like, oh, Drake May is the guy you actually want.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels kind of came out of nowhere and has shown like flashes of, ability that have entered himself in that conversation. So we move on to the 4th pick. And here's where I'm lost. I just don't get it. I don't get it because I know what I've been seeing is that it's a lot of J.J. McCarthy talk.
Yeah.
And unless you're going somewhere else that you see.
So I think the Giants have a chance to go up to the Cardinal spot. I think the Broncos from, I think it's 12 or 13.
12.
Yep, 12. I think somebody like the Raiders and obviously the Vikings. The Vikings, the big one going up to get him. But I'm going to stick with Arizona making this pick here, and I think this is the second best player in the draft, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Okay. I was going to
I
say,
think they go wide receiver. They stick out with Kyler Murray and company, and really a team that sort of overachieved at times last year in the Cardinals. Like, I mean, I know we talked in the preview last fall. Like, we thought they might not win a game
yeah.
at all. So, they had the Cowboys win. They had some other notable wins last year, and kind of overachieved. And the roster's not terrible. And go get the best receiver. I think far and away he's going to be a top 10 receiver in the league for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and they have a lot of picks this year. They have 11 picks, tied for the most in this draft. So they are, they had been stockpiling these picks. I know we talked kind of in that same, season preview that maybe they'd make a move for a quarterback, but it does seem like they're kind of going to give it a go with Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of the stuff I saw was like, oh yeah, the Cardinals are going to get out of that position. They're going to trade back. They're going to trade with the Giants, drop back a few spots, and then pick up a receiver. So, but you got them taking their guy right at the 4th spot, and I don't think there's a way they drop back and get Marvin Harrison. So if that's the guy they like, I think that's where they have to stay.
I agree. Yeah.
Number 5. So this is the Chargers here for us.
Yep. For the Chargers, obviously, quarterback's not really an option for them. New head coach, Harbaugh, coming into town. My only thing with this is Harbaugh does kind of scare me. I think there's a chance where Joe Alt from the tackle from Notre Dame goes here. Harbaugh's known to want to pound the rock, and defensive line and offensive line are important. But I really think, man, with Keenan Allen gone, Mike Williams is gone. I think they go receiver here, and I have them taking Malik Neighbors, wide receiver from LSU.
Yep, a lot of Malik Neighbors I've seen out in the universe, up in this top, 4 quarter. It's the top 6 are pretty set and locked. I think in any given order, it's the 4 quarterbacks and Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison. So that leads to the question: is do you have JJ McCarthy number 6 to the Giants?
I do not. I don't believe the Giants feel, and I could be wrong in this, that J.J. McCarthy's worth the top 6 pick.
I don't think he's worth a top 10 pick, but I think I'm going to be proven wrong by somebody in this.
I think so too.
Draft.
I think if I'm the Giants here, you want to trade up and you want to try to get Drake May, Jade Daniels. I haven't heard enough to tell me that they like J.J. McCarthy. I just haven't heard that. I've heard they really, really like May. So I think if they're going to go up and get somebody, it'd be him. So I think they take the best player available. They don't have an elite running back anymore. You got to protect whatever quarterback you're going to throw out there, Daniel Jones or whoever it might be. And that could change draft night or anything like that too. But I think they go with Joe Alt, offensive tackle from Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think he's going in that top 7 or 8. I would agree with that. And the Giants really don't have a ton of capital in this draft.
Yeah.
I'm not totally sure what they have going forward, but they only have 6 picks. They only have 2 picks in the top 50 picks and only 3 in the top 100 picks. So it's not like they have a bunch from this draft to move around. Again, I would have to double check the rest of their stuff, but
and that played a factor for me wanting to trade them up. Like, I just don't know what they can give, really. And they could take a receiver here. They could go a Dunze there from whatever it is, Washington. Right? They could. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do because they just need talent. They just need somebody that can make plays. But when you're stuck in a position like that, to me, it's like you have to take the best player, and I think Joe Alt could be a Hall of Fame type player in the league.
And it feels like they're in the spot in their rebuild, their progress, whatever the hell you want to call it, where you take a guy like a Joe Alt, an offensive tackle, who's going to be solid for you. You're going to be able to probably lock him down continually, and you'll be able to move with him going forward. And if the right guy's not there, taking a tackle is never. It's like it's a pretty solid play.
Yep.
You don't see a ton of. I mean, I'm sure you could then. As soon as I started thinking this, I like, oh, someone will have a list of like failed offensive top 10 offensive tackles. But it feels like more often than not, a tackle is a solid choice at that, like in that top 10. If you don't have like a position player that you need, or like you aren't sure about a guy, it feels like that's a decent place to go with it. So I think a tackle really, really fits that pick for them. Number 7 is the Tennessee Titans.
I have them. If Joe Alt's here, like they're probably going to run up and take him. But the Titans also have a lot of needs. I know they think they have their quarterback and all this different things, and I think they can move up and down. But I'm going to go against the grain here a little bit and say this is not going to be the second year in the Super Bowl era where there's not a defensive player taken, and they go up and get Dallas Turner, the edge rusher from Alabama.
Here it is. The defensive people are happy with MJ.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of what you just said. Like there's positions like an offensive tackle. If you can go up and get a guy that you think's going to be a special player at left tackle or quarterback or edge rusher, you go take it. And Dallas Turner and almost everybody's that I've seen is the number one edge rusher. So you go get that type of guy.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple of really definitive things. Was that the edge rusher, like I said, Dallas Turner is going to be the first edge rusher off the board unless we're completely shocked.
Yep.
Caleb Williams is going to be the first quarterback, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be the first wide receiver. Like those are all but locks in stone. So
yeah, sorry, my dad just tried to call me, so I had to get that.
Come on, Donnie. We're doing important things here.
It wouldn't surprise me if he just showed up at my house, so I might have to deal with that. So we'll
Bring him
keep
on.
moving. I know.
Falcons up next.
All right, so the Falcons, I think a lot of people like Dallas Turner in this spot, but since he's gone, you got to put some weapons around Kirk Cousins and company now. I think their offense could be really special, and I think they go get a Dunze, the wide receiver from Washington here. I know the Bears fans will be unhappy. I think they're hoping that Odunze drops to 9 maybe when Chicago picks again. But I think it's too much. With Turner gone, Alt gone, you go get another special wide receiver for Kirk Cousins, and they got a nice skill position down in Atlanta.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
All right, then that takes us to the Bears. This is their second pick in the top 10, but they only have 4 picks in this draft, so they won't pick again until round 3 and number 75, and then they finish off with pick 122. So can they make it count at number 9?
So with that being said, and you set this up very nicely, the Chicago Bears are offered the number 11 pick from the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings move up to 9, 2 spots, and they go get J.J. McCarthy.
Okay, I was going to say, is J.J. McCarthy going to make your top 10?
Yep. I couldn't help it. There's too much writing on the wall with people that I've learned to really trust when I listen to a lot of stuff and read things. And it just feels like the writing's on the wall for the Vikings to somehow leave this draft with J.J. McCarthy. I don't know why. So I think they go and get him, and that's a really good roster in Minnesota. And I think they go get their quarterback and an intangible guy, can lead guys, ran a pro-style offense at Michigan, can do a lot of the things that I feel like a lot of executives and general managers love, and I think they go and get McCarthy there. So the Chicago Bears get some more draft capital,
get some more picks
back a little bit, and try to supplement around Caleb Williams.
So 2 things. I think that Minnesota is probably the best landing spot in the top, 15 picks. 16 because the Colts 7, the Jags wouldn't take one. I mean, that's darn near as good. I'm just going down the draft board here. Like, that's darn near as good of a spot to land for J.J. McCarthy as I think can happen.
Yeah.
And at the same time, as a Packers fan, I am super pleased that they're picking J.J. McCarthy in that spot because I don't think he's it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it, man. I watched him for a couple of years at Michigan, and he ran a good offense, but, like, when times got tough, and I know it's Harbaugh, and Harbaugh is a different dude, and, like, he loves to run the rock, but, like, when times got tough there, they just turned around and handed the ball off. So maybe it's one of those things where, like, a dude comes out of a program that, like, actually didn't fit him right, and he comes out and he shines in the NFL. And I'm ready to be proven wrong because I'm ready for J.J. McCarthy to start fucking torching the Packers twice a year. But I don't see it.
I do think you're right. I agree with you. I will say if you're going to stick up for him, what you said with they did just turn it around and hand it off to Corum and all these different things, and they were such a special defensive team. They didn't have to really have him do much. But I will say when he needed to make a throw, he would make throws. He made checks at the line of scrimmage, which guys like a Caleb Williams and a Jaden Daniels, they're not always doing that. They're looking at the sideline. What's the check?
What's the play call?
We're going to change it. We're going to do this now. Whereas J.J. McCarthy's one of the guys. I'd throw Drake May in there a little bit too. That would make changes at the line of scrimmage and do some things like that. So he's probably the most ready to go to the NFL. Like, just I'm going to know the playbook. I'm going to know defenses. Like, he's probably the most ready, and people are going to love that. So I do think they go and get him.
All right. That takes us to number 10, which is the New York Football Jets.
Yes.
Much ballyhooed about. Their season was over in 4 plays last year. What do we got for the Jets?
Yep. I mean, the Jets are win now, which I think does play a factor. Brock Bowers could be a pick here, the tight end. I just don't – I feel like in recent years there's been exceptions, but I don't think in recent years we've seen tight ends, even special tight ends, push back, into the teens, even into the 20s. Like you think of Kincaid last year to the Bills in the late 20s. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of people saying he was going to be a top 12 draft pick. So I think with Tyron Smith being there, the former Cowboys left tackle, there's some question marks with his health all the time. I think they're going to get the guard / tackle, Talisa Fuaga.
I'm not even going to try that.
From Oregon State. I think he can help him inside at guard and also move out to left tackle.
I was going to say, so you like him more than the Alabama kid, J.C. Latham, because of the versatility maybe?
Yeah, and a lot of these tackles do have some versatility too, but I think from things that I've read and seen, a lot of these offensive tackles / guards are so close. This was kind of my opportunity to be like, I think the Jets like Fuaga a little bit better than maybe some of the other ones. So I'm gonna stick with him, and I do think they believe Tyron Smith's gonna be healthy and all that stuff. But if they ever watch Cowboys play, like he gets hurt a lot, so they're gonna need some depth. They want to protect Rodgers. They need help at receiver. Brock Bowers could help them in that too, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's picked. But I went with a kind of, I guess, maybe a safer pick for them right now.
Yep. All right, that gets us to pick 11, which is now the Bears after their trade with the Vikings.
Okay. So the Bears got a call from Las Vegas.
Okay.
And the Bears are trading back once again to the
13 is where Las Vegas is.
Getting a couple more picks. And the Raiders move up to select Terrion Arnold, the cornerback from Alabama.
Okay. I love it. I love it.
So I think the Raiders go up and get probably the best cover corner in the nation. And I think I think that's where they go there.
Nice. All right. Number 12, the Denver Broncos, now without Russell the Muscle.
So this was difficult, man. The Broncos are kind of bad.
Very good.
I just didn't know where. This was actually one of the hardest ones to come up with. And Man, I'm going to go, and I still want to change it, but I'm going to go with what I think is probably the second best, maybe even first offensive tackle. And they're going to go with Alu Fashanu from Penn State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen him going as high as like 8 or 9, like right after Joe Alt. So yeah, I think that's a good pick. Again, if the Broncos are in a spot where they're kind of in the middle of the draft, they're not going to get a quarterback, getting yourself a high quality offensive tackle and starting the line rebuild a year ahead of everything else, never a bad idea. That means number 13 now is the Bears is the third time the charm for Chicago.
Yes, it is. They're gonna stick here, and I have them picking. It was. I want to make sure I get the name right. Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback from Toledo.
Okay, I don't know anything about him, but I saw that name. I was like, I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite like corners that I've listened to and watched a little bit. I really like him. I think he could end up being the best corner in the draft. It's just a smaller school, so he's not in the limelight a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But he has some size. He's got the speed, and to me, one of the biggest things is he has the attitude. Like he wants to go and guard people and cover guys, and he'll kind of do whatever is needed. He tackles well. I think he's going to be a really nice player.
All right. Next up, the New Orleans Saints in the 14th slot.
All right. So for the Saints, like I said, don't be surprised if the Chargers moved around and maybe pick an offensive lineman, Joe Alt or whatever. But I like the J.C. Latham, offensive tackle from Alabama here. I think New Orleans could go a bunch of different ways, but I think they go, again, that 8 to 25 range is full of some really good offensive linemen. And I think we're going to really start to see a run on some of these guys. So I went with Latham from Alabama here.
In the 3 most recent mocks that I read, they had the Saints taking Fashanu out of Penn State. And let me click over to the other one. Fuagua from Oregon State, and then J.C. Latham. So all 3 have them zeroing in on a tackle. It's just which one. So I think you're falling right in line with that one. 15, the Colts.
All right. So
I'm sensing Brock Bowers. Have you said Brock Bowers to anyone yet?
We have not drafted Brock Bowers yet.
Okay, I'm sensing a Brock Bowers here.
Okay, so you're exactly right. This is going to be Brock Bowers, tight end from Georgia. They just extended Pittman, the wide receiver. They have Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, had a good year last year for him.
Pittman is low-key like a top 8 receiver in the league?
Yeah. Maybe like top 12 or so, but
I'd say top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm biased. Yeah. He's kind of a fantasy fucking points eater. He just racks them up.
And I think, hopefully they're hoping Richardson's healthy, and improving, and go get him another weapon in Brock Bowers, who not only just can catch the ball, but he can do a lot of really special things. So I think 15's right where I like Brock Bowers. So I think this was a good spot for him.
All right. Next up, 16, the Seattle Seahawks.
So I think if Fautanu, Troy Fautanu, the guard tackle from Washington, falls here, if he hasn't gone somewhere else, I think Seattle's another team that could go a lot of different ways. But for a couple of years now, Seattle's been pretty rough in the protection of the quarterback game. And they've run the ball decent at times, but I think this is a really sweet spot for them. Can play guard, tackle, and I think they go with a big body in the interior of their offensive line.
And the offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, was also at Washington as well. So a little familiarity there.
Good call.
Jacksonville Jaguars at the 17 slot.
Big move here, Wally. This was my biggest move of the draft.
Okay. Let him cook.
The
Let him cook.
Buffalo Bills
Ooh.
jump all the way down to 17. I think they moved from, what do I have?
28.
28. It's a big move. It's going to cost them a lot. But I think they go get Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver from LSU.
Okay. I mean, they're a little light at wide receiver without Diggs. So
Yep, very, very light. Diggs is in the wrong Texas team. And they're going to go get their guy. And I think, there's some people who think Brian Thomas Jr. is maybe the second or third best receiver in this draft. So I think trying to get them all the way through, let's say the Bengals or even the Rams, Dolphins, Eagles even could take a receiver.
yeah.
So they jump, and it's a big jump. It probably won't happen, but I'm going with the Bills. Go get
Love
them
it.
at 17.
Nice. All right. The Bengals at 18.
This is another tough one, a little bit like Denver was for me. I just think they could go a lot of different ways. And Cincinnati's obviously with Joe Burrow, and they're pretty special. But I think they go with Byron Murphy, the second defensive tackle from Texas here. There's some knock on his length. He doesn't have, the longest arms and all that stuff. And some geeks out there will want those traits and everything. But he's a freaking animal. And I think defensive tackles that position where you can't find a lot of guys coming out of college that can do it well, especially right away. And I think Byron Murphy could do that for the Bengals.
I always laugh that when you play like Madden franchise, you can get like a 90 something at like every position. There's like 4 or 5 of them throughout the league. There's like 290 defensive tackles, and then everybody else is like a 70.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I mean, I know Madden's probably the wrong way to put it, but like it's an easy way for me, like my stupid brain, to be like, there's just no good defensive tackles.
Yep.
19, the LA Rams, a team in an interesting spot. Like, what are they doing? Like, where are they at? Like, Stafford's obviously not the QB of the future. How much do we have? Are they ready to win now? Are they? I don't know. They got a lot of picks.
Aaron Donald retired.
Yep.
So
Cooper Kupp's maybe on the downside.
Yeah. And everybody's trying to find the next Puka Nacua in the draft too. But I'll say the Rams haven't picked in the top 60 a lot in recent years, and when they have, they've gone offense the majority of the time. I think they just have a lot of holes, and I think they go defensive line here. I think Byron Murphy could be a pick if he drops here, but I went with Jared Verse, the edge rusher from Florida State. He's tough. He's got a high motor. I do agree with you. I think maybe even quarterback, if they drop back and try to get some picks, could be in play here for the Rams. But I just don't see them doing that at 19. So I think an edge rusher, second best edge rusher in the draft, and you go and get that guy.
Okay. Alrighty. We go to 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
Russell Wilson, what are they looking to put on that team with him? Are they going offense? Are they going defense a little more?
Yeah. They've spent some time on the offensive side of the ball. I do think offensive line could be a big play here. I think defensive back could be a play here. I don't think there's a safety in this draft that should be a first round pick. So I went with, and I got to get my paper here because I wrote a couple things on them. Sorry.
You're fine. So no safety as a first round pick.
I don't think so. I don't think we're going to see a running back in the first round either.
I have not seen any running backs in any mocks.
Yep.
I was just going to ask, do you consider... Go ahead.
So I'm going to go with Graham Barton, the center/guard from Duke. I do think Jackson Powers Johnson could be the first center in the draft taken, but I think Barton has that ability, and I think it's needed in Pittsburgh to move around the offensive line a little bit. So they got to protect Fields or Wilson, whoever they're going to throw out there. And I think Barton kind of fills a hole, even if it's just for depth. And I think Pittsburgh's defense is okay. enough, and with some more stability at the quarterback position, hopefully for them, I think this is a sweet spot for some of those center guards to go.
Yep. Gotcha. The Miami Dolphins at 21.
By the way, that Barton guy is huge. 6'5", this guy can move bodies. Like he's going to be good. So I know our friend Joel Miller is going to maybe be upset with that pick, but I got confidence in that pick. So yes,
Joel
the Dolphins
wants to flash.
I know.
Joel wants to flash. He's going to want a wide receiver or a running back or something like that.
All right. So for the Dolphins, we're going to go with some speed here. Obviously, Miami loves their speed a little bit. And I'm going to go with Leatu Latu, the edge from UCLA.
Okay.
I think is a little bit better than Jared Verse in edge rushing, but I think some teams are shying away from him a little bit. I love the pick for the Dolphins there, and I think they go defense here. Like I think their offense is relatively set.
I was going to say their offense seems to be in a good spot. They need to make some stops.
And it's such a deep class with receivers and offensive line and all that stuff where I think teams can just be like, well, we can wait. Let's go get somebody in the second or third round that we really like too. So I think they go with some edge rush where it's a little bit less depth in that position.
Okay. All right. Number 22, your favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yep. I'm not even going to pretend that's true. I hate the Eagles. But I'll say it, man. The Eagles are going to break my heart because they're going to take a player that I think I want the Cowboys to go and get. And what I think is the best pure center in the draft. So I know I just talked about Barton being, a really good player at that center guard position and moving all over. But they picked Jackson Powers Johnson, the guard center from Oregon.
All righty.
The Kelsey retirement. I mean, it's right there for him.
It's an easy slide in there. Yeah. Yep. Maintain the center of your line, and get someone to lead that line and be solid up there right away and don't have a hole. Because the rest of the line has been pretty solid for them.
Yeah.
They've had a pretty good line. It'll be interesting how the tush push will work this year for them without Kelsey up there. Getting a little couple extra.
I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate it.
All right. The Minnesota Vikings.
All right. So
how'd they get this pick? I forget. They got it from what'd they get it? Let me find my cheat sheet here.
From Cleveland through Houston.
Yes. I knew this one was fucked up. That's why I was trying to find it.
Yep.
All right, sorry. Go ahead.
So this pick in my mind could be gone because they did go up and get J.J. McCarthy at 9. So this could be another spot where Minnesota's not picking here if they were to have to give this pick too. So keep that in mind. But I had them maybe given some other compensation. And I went with Cooper DeJean, the cornerback from Iowa. He reminds me reminds the guys that I really trust and respect a little bit like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. A little bit can do all those blitz packages, can go drop back into the safety spot, can go out and cover guys. Not really a slot cover guy, but can really just move around the field and do a lot of different things. And I think Minnesota gets one of their corners here.
Does he play corner, or do you think he moves to safety, or do you think we have a white cornerback in the NFL in the year of 2024?
Yeah, I do. I think he's going to play probably 2 or 3 different positions, and it could change possession to possession. There's times where he's
flexible.
Up. Yeah, he lines up in the box. He's a good tackler. How good Iowa's defense was. It's just unreal, and he was kind of a cornerstone to that. So I think it's a solid pick for him.
Yep. All right, couple big picks here for us, MJ. We got the Cowboys at 24.
So if this is not offensive line for the Cowboys, I don't know what they're doing. Unless something crazy were to happen and there's some receiver that dropped and that they really love, or an edge rusher that I just don't know that they like. And I feel like I've seen this either being Jackson Powers Johnson. I've heard Amarius Mims from Georgia. But like I think Mims is probably going to play more right tackle, and the Cowboys have Terrence Steele out there, so I think they go with Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma. It stinks just because this draft is so offensive tackle heavy that
Mm-hmm.
I think he's probably the sixth or maybe fifth best offensive tackle in this draft, and he's getting picked 24th, which is crazy. But I think they hope that he can just be the next Tyron Smith and play 10, 12 years, and they can keep Tyler Smith at left guard. They can keep Terrence Steele at right tackle, Zach Martin the next couple years. I would love Jackson Powers Johnson here, but I think Tyler Guyton's going to be there for him to pick.
Okay, gotcha. All right, let's move on to my Packers. I see this as I just think offensive line is where they're going. They've had some departures in the offensive line. Obviously, they lose Bakhtiari, who's really hasn't been there, but like it's finally gone. They're finally got that spot opened up. Runyon and Yash Nyman also gone. So a younger line. They've got Elton Jenkins at tackle, who's still very good. Rasheed Walker had been playing a lot of left tackle, but I feel like even if they have five guys they like in Jenkins, Tom, Myers, Walker, and then Ryan, I feel like offensive line depth is something they're looking at here. Are you seeing the same things I am?
I am. I think this is where Amarius Mims goes.
Yep, that's
For
what
the
I was thinking.
Packers. Man, he's just a mean son of a bitch. Like he only started 8 games for Georgia. Um, he needs some probably more time and stuff. And I thought the Packers fit that, like what you just talked about. Like they have a solid offensive line. They overachieved, I think, last year with that group, especially with Bakhtiari and all that stuff. Like kind of being always injured and all that stuff. So. At minimum, I think Mims gives them depth. I think he can start some games, and he might end up being the best tackle in this draft. We just don't know because there's just not a ton of stuff on him.
Yep.
So I think it's a perfect spot with a team that has a billion picks, and they're young and everything. And now you just get another young piece that you can develop and help that roster. And he could end up being there for a long time and being like, why did anyone pick those other guys ahead of him?
Yep. I also can see them trading back.
Yeah.
Like that would not surprise me at all. That would be a very Packers move. Would be we drop back, 4 or 5 picks. I even saw in one mock that the Bills come up, get a wide receiver there, and the Packers go back to 28. That gains them probably a couple second rounders or like a second and a third or something like that. And then they use that to come up earlier in the second. Like that's a pretty, common move for the Packers. They go when they're late in the first, they go back, 3 or 4 spots, grab a couple seconds, and then come back up early in the second to get a guy they really like that they think is going to fall. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen either.
Man, it's an exciting 3 days for you as Packers fans.
Yeah, I think so too, because there's a lot that they can do. They've got some cap room this year. That's going to kind of get eaten up eventually by a huge contract they're going to have to give Jordan Love. But I think there's a lot of possibilities for them.
Yeah.
26. We're into the playoff teams now, obviously. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 26.
So I have them, and this was another tough one too. There's lots of different ways they could go, but I think they're going to go defense here. Todd Bowles is, big defensive guy. The player that they're going to draft has some strength issues. He's, slight in the frame, but he's got speed and ability that could really make him a special corner. We're going to go Nate Wiggins, the corner from Clemson, for the Tampa Bay Bucs.
I don't know much about that young gentleman, so I'm just gonna let your analysis stand alone there.
Picture skinny and long with lots of speed. And he'll get beat up sometimes, but he's got the length and speed to run with guys and use the speed in that way. So I do think there's some teams that really like him. It just hopefully he's not going to be much help in the run game, I don't think, but he's a nice player.
Okay. All right. Another Arizona Cardinals pick here.
Yep. So this one's from Houston, I believe. And I don't know why, but when I looked at this guy, I was like, he just seems like he'll be in a Cardinals uniform. So we're gonna go with edge rusher Chop Robinson from Penn State here to the Arizona Cardinals. So they need some improvements. Edge is one of those spots that they could use some help with. So we're gonna go and get Chop Robinson for the Cardinals.
I think that fits them pretty well. Wait, did you have the Bills? You had the Bills moving up. So in the 28 spot, gosh, who do we have? I've lost track. Sorry,
this is the Jacksonville Jags.
The Jags. Thank you.
Yep. So they go get a bunch of picks from the Bills and all this stuff, and I know that's a stretch, but if the Jags are here, and I even think if Buffalo's in the spot, this could be a pick, and I just feel like this name is even like a Buffalo Bill-ish type player, but the Jacksonville Jaguars select Kool-Aid Injury, the corner from Alabama.
I like it. That's a little bit. You're taking a little bit of a leap. No, I've seen him sneak up in the bottom of a little bit. I was looking at one and I forgot that he was on another one that I'd seen. Okay, Kool-Aid, love it.
You had to go with Kool-Aid there, man. Come on.
Yeah, you got it.
I got to sneak him into the first round.
You got to work him in. That'd be a missed opportunity if we didn't get to say Kool-Aid on this episode here. All right, number 29, the Detroit Lions drafting at 29. What a world we live in.
Yeah. So I think, and I've read some things where Detroit is willing to move way up or way down. In like last year, they proved to everybody like they're just going to draft who they like. It doesn't matter. Like,
yeah,
they're going to set their board, and if everybody in the league thinks that player is the 100th best player, but the Lions think he's the second best player, they're going to draft him. I think this is more of like a fit for me. I like Lad McConkey from the wide receiver from Georgia here. They got some special players in the backfield. Jared Goff's solid. The offensive line's good. But you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who loves that slot and outside, can kind of, do it all, in motion, all these different things. They got Josh Reynolds, I think, is the other receiver.
Yep.
Putting McConkey here, who can do the inside-outside type stuff as well. His route, I love watching the guy like run routes. It's just incredible. Sure-handed.
It's cool.
Yeah, and I just think it's such a Lions pick for me. I was like, this is where he's going. So I have the Lions picking him at 29.
I love your analysis on that.
Yeah.
I think that is so, you're so, nailing it with the Lions are going to do what the Lions want to do.
Yeah.
They're not going to be influenced by, like I said, that, their draft board looks different than everybody else's rankings. I can't say it any better. You nailed it.
Yeah.
You nailed it. The Ravens at the 30 spot.
So this was another tough one. But I do think it's like that Harbaugh in them. It's like just big bodies, good players. Nothing's going to be too flashy. I went with Jordan Morgan, the offensive tackle from Arizona. I also think he's got some position flex. I think he's going to play like left guard or right guard. I don't think he'll be a tackle. But he's a big body. Can move people.
He's a big boy. What, 6? I have him here. 6'6", 320.
Yeah, he's a mover. But the things I've seen do say, like, when he's on an island, like in that left tackle spot, there are times where he loses his leverage a little bit and he'll get beat one-on-one. So I think putting him in that guard spot in Baltimore could be really good. Just keeping bodies around him, having him more balanced, and he's just going to move people for Lamar and the backfield, and I think the Ravens are going to be really good again. So,
yeah. All right. Number 31, the San Francisco 49ers.
So, again, we talked about the defensive tackle position. But this is another player beats one-on-one blockers. He's got quickness, nose for the ball. I think San Francisco loves picking guys that are off the beaten path a little bit. I'm going with, I think it's Jerzon Newton. I want to pronounce that first name right. Defensive tackle from Illinois. Another kind of undersized defensive tackle a little bit, but I think he's really solid, and we're probably not going to talk about him next year at all. But I think he's just going to be another defensive piece for San Francisco that just comes in, makes some plays, and they're going to win a lot of games.
The never-ending cycle of good linemen on the defensive side of the ball for them. All right, and rounded out, the Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs.
So I was going to go a lot of different ways if you would have talked to me a couple weeks ago. But now with the Rashee Rice nonsense, I don't know what that's going to look like. So, I mean, he could be in jail for a couple years.
Very possible.
So I'm going to have them pick a receiver here. I bounce back and forth from one of my pet cats, guys that I really like, and I went away from that one. But I'm going to go with Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver from Texas. He's big, so it kind of doesn't really fit Kansas City a little bit. Kansas City kind of likes those 6'1" receivers with quickness and everything. But this guy has speed. I believe he's like 6'3". He didn't run the fastest 40, but he plays a little bit faster than I think the 4.6 that he ran. And I think maybe with Rice being out of the picture, they go get a big body to kind of help.
I think they need a guy like this.
Yeah. So I thought it was a good fit. So my other pick, one of my favorites, is Keon Coleman from Florida State. I thought maybe he could sneak into this spot. He's got a little Puka Nacua sneakiness to him, where a lot of guys aren't talking too much about him. But he ran all those drills just like Puka did last year in the combine, with just like always top speeds in them. Movement was really good. But I like the Mitchell pick here for Kansas City.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. I think he fits them.
Yeah.
A couple names we didn't mention that I had seen, maybe sneak up in the late first round. Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix, a couple of quarterbacks out there that, different people saw them, in the later first round as possibilities. No love for them, for you. Just don't think outside of that, that rush on those top four guys that they sneak in there.
Yeah, no, and I thought about putting Penix in. I don't know if I really believe in Bo Nix that much, and I could be completely wrong. 2 months ago,
Bo Nix was like a 32 or kind of like a late 30, like a late 20s 30 guy. I saw Nix as high as 27. That didn't make sense to me, but I also did see Penix higher. Penix was the one who had kind of a little more of a chance to get up higher in the thing, but
I've seen him at 12 to Denver in one, and I don't know. So
yeah, I saw him as high as 13 to the Raiders. That was Daniel Jeremiah's.
So for me, like months ago, I would say Penix was probably my like fourth quarterback. But then, everything that I hear, he's got some injury history. He's mechanically, can be tough, and he doesn't really throw between the hashes very well. And like those were some of the things that I kept hearing, and nobody was really talking to him about him in the first round for so long. I was like, well, maybe I'm wrong on this. Like, maybe I don't have Penix where he needs to be. So this was probably more me trusting the guys that are more involved in doing that than what I would say, because I was like, I think Penix could be a nice player for somebody. He might need some time. And I think he still could be, but I don't see him going in the first round, and I could be completely wrong, but I don't see Bo Nix in that situation either.
No, Bo Nix was one, like I said, he was a very late round. Penix was one that, saw some moves up in the top half of the first round, but I think you put together a nice board for us. I think obviously we say this every year, like your draft can get blown. Your draft board usually gets blown to hell by like the third or fourth pick. I think it's going to be a little longer before the trades start flying around this year. Hell, maybe. I mean, fourth pick. I think 1, 2, 3 probably take those the quarterbacks we all think.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. Maybe flip May and Daniels around, but I think those guys are all going 1, 2, 3, and then the craziness could happen. I think we're in for a fun Thursday night watching the draft. Hopefully, I don't know what my flight schedule is. I think I'm mostly on a plane at that time, but I believe my plane has TV, so it'll give me something to watch on this on this little trip. So, anything else to add before we wrap this up, man?
No, I don't think so, man. I'd love to come on and afterwards and see how kind of the
Absolutely.
draft went.
Yeah, we definitely got to have you back next week to break it all down with us.
There's always going to be some surprises, and it's always fun. Like it's such a cool thing. It was always my favorite thing to do on Madden. I know you mentioned Madden earlier. I always loved. I'd like skip seasons just to get to draft my team for the next year, but it should be a lot of fun, and I appreciate you having me on.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and giving all the expert advice. You put some work into it for us, my man. So MJ, I really appreciate it. We'll see you next week, and we'll break this all down on all the results.
Thank you, brother.
Best record in baseball belongs to my Cleveland Guardians. Hell yeah. The Guardians wrap up a sweep of the Oakland Athletics on this fine Sunday afternoon after they take 3 of 4 in Boston earlier this week. I think when I put out the pod last week, they had 1 game left to play with the Yankees, and they did end up pulling that off to avoid getting swept by the Yankees. So the Cleveland Guardians stand at 16-6, 3 games clear of the Royals in the AL Central. They have the best record in all of the major leagues. The Yankees quickly, they're behind with the Orioles at 15-7 and 14-7 respectively. The Brewers at 14-6, the Braves at 14-5 are the closest competitors. So Cleveland is doing it. It's been fun. It's been awesome. They're not going to keep this pace, obviously. I think there are a little bit of worry. They're not getting pitchers to get through the 6th inning. That's been a bit of a concern. Hopefully a little more pitching depth in the rotation comes back when Gavin Williams gets back. I don't know exactly when that is. Also, there's a couple of good hitters down in the minors that Chase the Lauder should be here. I don't know where they bring up Manzardo. I don't know where they fill him in because Naylor is killing the ball. He's batting .325, slugging percentage of .623, OPS of over 1.016. Excuse me. He's got 6 home runs this year. He only hit 20, like 2 all of last year, maybe something like that. As of right now, through 21 games, if you do 162, the old on pace, love the old on pace. 162 divided by 21. Oh, shoot, I deleted it. 162 divided by 21 times 6. On pace for like 46 home runs. Obviously, that's lots of things can change. Also already driven in 20 runs to go along with 8 walks. And he has one of the lowest strikeout numbers on the team. The only person with less strikeouts is Will Brennan. Stephen Kwan is batting .358. Just magical up there. It's been great so far. Tough week coming up. Well, maybe not super tough at the start. The Red Sox, who are, again, a solid team. They're 13-10. But then the Braves, we go to Atlanta to end the week. Off on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday continues the home streak as the Red Sox come to town. Then head to Atlanta on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So those are some big games down in Atlanta. Going to find out a lot about the team that week. If they can, just don't get swept, I think is the main thing. Obviously, you want to win every series you play in. But a big road stretch coming. They go from Atlanta and then they head over to Houston right afterwards before coming back home for a couple games as well. But man, it's been a fun start to the year. We will hope it can keep going. Like I said, pitching's a bit of a concern. I think I know it's the new age, but if you can't get any starters to get through 6, that's a little worrisome. But hey, best record in baseball. Let's not complain too much. All right. Hopefully we have more good news next week. on the Guardians. Scottie Scheffler has not yet won the RBC Heritage Open. Play has been called on behalf of Darkness. In kind of a stunning move, the PGA Tour elected to not move up the tee times today, and we do not finish due to a rainstorm that delayed play for about 2 hours, maybe it was 2.5 hours. Scottie Scheffler is through 15 holes. He just made his first 5 in 53 holes as he gets up and down on a water ball on that hole, I believe. I missed it. I was eating dinner. But yeah, Scott Scheffler, 5-shot lead, 3 holes to play. Play called Due to Darkness. What Scottie's doing is incredible. I've run out of words. We've gone over the strokes gained. It's going to be 4 of his last 5, including the Masters. It's elevated events. It's signature events. The only thing this guy hasn't done in his career is win outside of February to April. It's the only thing. I'm speechless, people. I'm speechless. Totally knucklehead thing for the PGA Tour to do, not to get this in. Wyndham Clark comes flying up the leaderboard today with a 65, goes out in 29. That's fun. That's really fun. Shoots 65 with a double and 2 bogeys on the back 9, one of which on a par 5. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And actually, I think finished his last hole post-delay. Patrick Cantlay hit a hybrid into 18 right before the delay. Have to imagine he was thinking finish and get the fuck out of there, and then eventually ends up deciding to mark his ball and come back and finish tomorrow. So again, terrible decision by the PGA Tour. I think they thought they were going to get through it and maybe have to delay for an hour, and they were still going to be able to get this done, keep it in prime time. Not prime time, but keep it in the late viewing window and not go in the early viewing window. But just a massive mistake, and just another massive week for Scottie. He's running away again. He's running away from the field. He's 5 clear of second. Justin Thomas had a day today. He shot 65 as well. What else? Nelly Korda decided to win her 5th tournament in a row in the first major of the LPGA season, the Chevron, despite a 6-hour final round. 6-hour final round. Can't have that, man. Yeah, that's not helping the women's game, man. That's not helping you earn any fans. But wow, what a just Scottie Scheffler, man. I don't know. I don't even know what else to say about the guy. I just don't know. When's he playing again? What's the next PGA Tour tournament? Let me look it up here. PGA Tour, RBC, the Byron Nelson next week. Gotta imagine he's not playing that. He might. It's in fucking Texas. Myrtle Beach, he's definitely not playing that. He'll play the Wells Fargo because that's an elevated. He probably doesn't play again until the Wells Fargo and the PGA. It'd be incredible if the only thing that can stop him is Meredith going into labor. Nothing else. All right, that's all I got. Just virtuoso from Scottie. What else do you expect? Just totally runs down the field on Saturday. Gets out to, all of a sudden, you look up at the leaderboard Saturday. It's like, oh, here's fucking Scottie on top again. What's new? All right, let's go. Let's keep rolling. Season has come to an end after a historic losing streak. At the end of 2 weeks ago, the Flyers stayed alive. They beat the Rangers and the Devils to give themselves a little bit of an outside chance going into the Caps game on Tuesday. But alas, even though they lost, it was a loss that had come anyway. They were knocked out by Detroit, getting into the playoffs by because of or no, Detroit got knocked out too because Washington. Sorry, Detroit thought they had a chance when they got to overtime, but Washington gets in with the win. So Washington moves on to face the Rangers. So the Flyers, both an overachieving year and a disappointing year. I know how those go. That's been back-to-back of those, I think, with the Green Bay Packers and then the Philadelphia Flyers for me. We're in the early stretches of another overachieving year, I think, right now at the Cleveland Guardians, but we'll get there later. So, so the NHL season is over. It was it gave me more than I thought it was going to give me. Outside of an 8-game losing streak at the end of the year, this was a team that was in the playoffs for most of the year, which is unfortunate. So we got the Stanley Cup playoffs going on. Boston has already taken a 1-0 lead over Toronto in that series, as well as Carolina is already up on the Islanders getting in. I'm going to get behind the Carolina Hurricanes and the Dallas Stars to make the Stanley Cup final. I think those two teams, from what I remember seeing this year, were pretty damn good. So that's who I'm taking to make the Stanley Cup final. I will surely be wrong on that, probably. But yeah, I'm getting out early. I'm getting a team with a 1-0 lead already. So yeah, that's it for the Flyers updates for the year. I'll still touch base on the Stanley Cup playoffs here moving forward, but the Flyers updates are done for another year. We'll talk again in October. See ya, Flyers. Dickheads. Ladies and gentlemen, after forgetting to do this last week, the inaugural edition of OWH Albums is here. I came up with this idea. I was just listening to music in the car one day, and I was just thinking about, CDs and albums. I always call them CDs, a sign of the times, really, that I grew up in, that really spoke to me in life. Not to sound too stupid here, but CDs, albums that explain a time in my life or have been instrumental to my music listening or things that have been with me forever and span across time. And I listened to them at this age and I kept listening, or I found it at this age when I was in college. And it was the story of our parties. It was the story of my time driving alone in the car. It was the story of a breakup with a girlfriend, all that stupid stuff. I just got thinking, I'm I can ramble about this shit, and that's what I do on this pod, is I just kind of ramble about. And so I was like, screw it, let's do it. And I've created a list. Let me pull up the list and see how many albums we're up to. So there's some life to this. I've got a number of different albums on here. So 3, 5, 6, 9, 13, 16. I mean, I've got 25-ish albums already that as I kind of listen to music in my day-to-day life, I'll probably find more as I go through it. But there was no better album for me to pick for the first one than Third Eye Blind's original album, their self-titled album, Third Eye Blind. And one of my factors when I wanted to do this was I wanted to pick things that I would listen to start to finish. Not I'd come on for a song or two, but a CD that I would start and I could just listen to it the whole way. And I think this one fits it maybe more than any of them. Third Eye Blind was by far my favorite band growing up. Their first 3 albums were, almost perfect to me. Again, and this is all mine. This is very, very personal to me. This was an album that I liked as a kid. It was probably the first band I ever thought was my favorite band. And so it's not going to there's definitely going to be albums on here that it's oh, the critics hate it, or the general public doesn't like it. I don't give a shit. It's all about what I feel. And again, this album, I can remember my brother had it. It was a very popular album, some very popular songs on it. And I used to steal it from my brother and steal his CD, his Walkman, and steal it and go listen to it. And again, start to finish, it's probably my favorite album ever. And again, I can listen to it start to finish. I don't skip a song. There's maybe one song on here I don't think is as good as the rest, but start to finish, I love it. It starts out with Losing a Whole Year, a song probably most people, if you're not a Third Eye Blind fan, don't know. A great start to the song, to the CD. Really comes out of the gates blaring. Narcolepsy is incredible. Obviously, the next 2 songs, Semi-Charmed Kind of Life and Jumper, are the 2 most popular off this CD. Semi-Charmed Kind of Life, it sounds all upbeat. Obviously, you probably all know by now it's about crystal meth addiction and different addictions and things like that. So a darker undertone to it than the poppy beat and everything sounds. Jumper, one of the probably their most well-known song outside of Semi-Charmed Life, had a great cameo appearance in Yes Man, where Jim Carrey sings it to get a guy from jumping off a ledge. The guy starts singing it with him. I think Luis Guzman is the actor who plays opposite of him. A song Graduate that's fantastic, and I can remember going to see Third Eye Blind my senior year of high school with a couple of friends. Producer Kevy was there, and they played Graduate, and it felt like, at that time it was like, oh, they're singing this for me. I'm going to graduate high school, and I don't know, it was awesome. How's It Gonna Be? Every kid my age, when you're breaking up with a chick in high school and anywhere from the late 90s and through the early 2010s, that felt like that was that might have made your AIM away message. But just, again, an awesome song. A super underrated song, Thanks a Lot. Just a killer song. I mean, it slaps. It just slaps. Burning Man is the song I think maybe is the weakest of these songs. It's probably my least favorite on there. But then it immediately picks back up. We got Good For You, which is a jam. London's a jam. I Want You is a little different, kind of I don't even know. It's just got a different sound to it. And then it closes with maybe three of my favorite songs ever. The Background, Motorcycle Drive-By, which again is probably my favorite song on this CD. And I think that's more of a deep cut. Deep cuts only, yeah, one might say. But just a fantastic song. Again, another song if you're looking to put a little away message out there in the old AIM days, you might find that. And then closes off with Gotta Wine, just a incredible song too. But just start to finish, again, everything about this CD is awesome. It's got the hits, it's got the deep cuts. There's no skips, and it really set the tone for how awesome Third Eye Blind was for those first three albums. The first two albums had a guy, Kevin Cadigan, was also on there and was one of the writers with it, who departed after the second album. And their third album was still pretty good, but ever since they've been not as good in my opinion. Their lead singer is, I think, pretty hard to deal with, and I think the band has essentially completely remade itself as far as members. I think it's just the drummer and the lead singer, Stephen Jenkins now. Kevin Cadigan left. He was replaced by a guy who was there for the third album and through like the fourth album, but he's gone. So, I mean, pretty much everybody on here is new from like 2011. I'm pulling up 2011 and on, and has been replaced. But those original first three albums were awesome. I also saw Third Eye Blind on tour in 2017 on the 20-year anniversary tour, where they played this CD in almost its entirety, and it was great. Like, again, it just spoke to me. It was like the first CD I ever loved. It was a CD that was with me in high school. It was with me in college. I still listen to it, I don't know, at least once a month maybe. I listen to it start to finish. I travel a lot for work. You can only listen to so many podcasts without losing your fucking mind. Like, every once in a while, you just got to flip on a CD, and this is a go-to. I couldn't think of a better way to start off this little thing. So we've got lots of stuff coming up next with this. So I'm trying to think where to go with this. I want to tell you in advance what we're going to do. So in the same vein, another band or artist that I think really has spoke to me throughout my life. We're going to go next with Kid Rock. Devil Without a Cause will be next week. So feel free to listen to that CD in advance of next week. All right, let's keep rolling. Time for some passing thoughts. Okay, let's start with the fight game and passing thoughts. A fight I didn't watch, but was apparently quite the fight. Ryan Garcia pulls the upset. He was, I think, plus 550 as the last I saw, and takes down Devin Haney. Devin Haney is the reigning 140-pound champ. at 140. I'm sorry. Yeah, of course he's the reigning champ at 140. With the WBC, I think. He was undisputed at 135. Ryan Garcia was acting quite crazy in this the build up to the fight. Ends up missing weight by 3.2 pounds. There was, I guess, a handshake agreement that he would pay $500,000 for every pound he was over. Reports are that he ended up paying $600,000 total, plus some points on the pay-per-view if it reached a certain number of buys. Garcia knocks down Haney 3 times in a fight that Haney was doing very well in early in the round. I saw many people say that Haney was up 5-1, 4-2 through the first 6 rounds before all the knockdowns came. Some questions about the referee in the ring and the point he docked from Haney in one, I think the 7th round or 9th round when he had one of the knockdowns. But a huge win for for Ryan Garcia. A bad loss for Devin Haney, who retains his title because of the weight issue from Ryan Garcia. Be interesting to see where they go from here. 140 seems to be a tough weight for Garcia. He really looked like he drained him when he got down to fight Tank Davis, but a big win for him. Again, didn't watch it, but saw some highlights. Moving on, some TV and movie stuff. This will be pretty heavily TV and movie going in here. Couple movies and TV shows I watched recently. The roommate and I have watched a couple episodes of The Gentleman so far. It's been pretty good so far. Really enjoyed that movie. Guy Ritchie was involved, so a different spin on the kind of same story as that movie. I've enjoyed it so far. Also was traveling this past week, so watched a bunch of movies on the planes. Dumb Money, the story of the GameStop kind of short squeeze that they put on, was a very fun movie. I've been told the book's even better, as is usually the case. But I enjoyed watching that movie. It flew through. It was fun. It kept you interested. It didn't bog you down in terms that much. So add that movie to some of the good, financial movies in the veins of The Big Short and Margin Call and things like that. So a very fun movie. I would suggest that to anybody, especially if you are interested in any of that stuff. I also watched Hunt for Red October, 13 Days in Major League on my travels. Hunt for Red October, one of, if not my favorite movie ever. It's still awesome. I still love it. Major League, again, falls into that category. One of my, if not favorite movies ever. That movie's still incredible. On top of my Guardians being on top of the league, that movie made me want to bust this hat out, the old Cleveland Indians hat. So that movie's great. And like I said, another 13 Days, a movie about the Cuban Missile Crisis with Kevin Costner. And I know it's kind of ridiculed in the world. I watched it right after Hunt for October. It just felt like a natural follow-up, kind of another Cold War movie. Like I said, looks at the Cuban Missile Crisis and gives you kind of a look at it. I think it's a little bit of fiction, kind of woven into a real event. And but I still liked it. Another thing from when I was traveling. So messed my knee up playing basketball. I told you guys that. Officially retired now. But traveling with crutches turns out for whatever reason turned out pretty well for me. Requested the wheelchair, so I got wheeled from gate to gate. When I was in Chicago, I had like an hour connection, and I would have had to walk across like the entire freaking airport. And just getting wheeled across it was awesome because I had to park a long way away from the airport that I fly in and out of. And I had to crutch my ass across the parking garage and across the parking lot and across the street and into my gate. And I was pouring sweat. It was kind of like a day where it was like not super cold, but like kind of warm. Like, pullover weather. I had to peel my pullover off like halfway through. I was like, I'm just pouring sweat. But it turned out I got pretty lucky. I got upgraded twice. American Airlines on my way home. Flew Delta on the way down, American on the way home. I got upgraded twice. I got upgraded up to Comfort, or what are they? They're Economy Extra. Is it Economy Extra on American? They're next level economy, a little extra room. So a little extra room there. And then on my last flight, I got upgraded to first class. I have no status with American, so I don't know if the crutches thing was part of the deal, but that was nice. Flying flying first class is nice. There was also in Chicago, you get backed up because they're, flying a billion planes in and out of there. But they, there was a shift change up in the tower right when we were about to take off. They were shifting through, a shift change, and one guard was going out and the next guard was coming in. So we were on the fucking runway for like 30, 40 minutes before we took off. Ended up being like 30 minutes late, but yeah, we just sat there. Thank God I was in first class for that. Thank God. My trip took me to kind of southwestern Kansas, and one of my colleagues, we were near their home, and they took us to this Mexican restaurant, kind of out in like the middle of nowhere, outside of Wichita by a couple hours. And I've learned in traveling that area with some people that are from there or frequent that area, that the Mexican restaurants that are in buildings that look like they're rundown pieces of garbage, you get inside, it's nice, it's clean, and they serve banging food. Had some street tacos with some rice and beans. Oh, it was awesome. They were little ones, and so I ordered like the platter with 2, and then as soon as I got them, I'm like, I'm going to need more. So I got 2 more, and I just crushed them. I could have eaten like 12 of those things. Fantastic. Final thing here, I did make a note. I don't know if I'm still as into this battle as I was at the time, but at the time I decided I was going to declare war against the live bots on Twitter. I do still think the live bots on Twitter are idiots, just absolute idiots. I mean, they polled this one guy, Pro Golf Critic, and they're talking about the all event should be 54 holes. They pulled the last group on the course on like the 17th hole, or was it the 18th? Whatever it was at Harbor Town. And the stands are empty. It's the last group on Thursday. Like, let's not do that. We can do that at other times. Oh, here's another one. Live Mythbuster was they quote tweeted the Sunday conversation with Brooks Koepka and said, "This is the reason people like Live. If a top PGA Tour player did an interview like this, they would get a letter from Jay and Fine. They are humorless." Max Homa and Justin Thomas did the Sunday conversation with Caleb Presley as well. So, I mean, it's just, they're so dumb. They're so dumb. I think that's it. Oh, the only other thing I saw, they did a mock-up of if Tiger Woods' 2001 year were played in today with today's money, he would have made $92 million in a single year. $92 million. All right. That's all I got. Let's go wrap this thing up.